Hello, fellow celiacs. Getting glutened. Yes, in this day and age, we turn everything into a verb, and this one is going to become your least favorite. Hopefully you won't be using it all the time. I mean, you've been doing better after all. You've had your first solid poop in ages and you're starting to think you can do this. But all of a sudden you start to feel that characteristic tugging at your gut. You run to the bathroom and... I'm just going to skip over this part. Anyways, you sit there clutching your stomach. You start going over where you've been in the past 24 hours and what you could have possibly eaten that made you sick. Was it that bag of chips that's had processed in a facility with wheat? Was it the fries of that burger joint? And once you're done obsessing over what did it to you, you then start shaming yourself for taking risks in the first place. And then you start considering just living in a bubble for the rest of your life. It's a rough place to be, but we've all been there. In fact, some days, even a veteran like me arrives at this point. So what do? I'm going to show you my ritual for caring for myself after an epic glutening. So the first thing I do is actually a bit of a mental exercise. I don't spend a terribly long time figuring out what did it. Once I've got a culprit in mind, I dog-ear it and I vow never to take the risk again. I stop just shy of beating myself up for it though, and instead go straight to accepting that it happened, and here I am. A day or two of weird poops, smelly farts, maybe some stomach cramps, but then I'm going to be back on my feet and out in the world being awesome. Hopefully equipped with some knowledge about how to be a better celiac. But for now, I'm momentarily incapacitated. And that's okay. Now, my symptoms have changed over time and are not always consistent. Sometimes it's even dependent on how much I've been exposed to. What's been happening to me lately though is a mix of two types of situations. Either it's diarrhea with some discomfort after and smelly farts, I mean the kind you don't want to be out in public for, or it's horrible constipation with tons of stomach cramps, sometimes debilitating. I'm talking doubled over in pain. If I've had a lot of exposure, it can feel like the flu. It's bad. For most of these situations, I pull the celiac card. If it's bad enough, I call in sick to work, or I leave early if I'm at work when it hits me. I don't do it often if I can help it, but the object is to get myself in a controlled environment, i.e. home. The added stress of being out in public or at work can magnify symptoms. Being home, I can meditate, I can do some deep breathing to release some of the tension, that'll help with the gas cramps. I then do some yoga poses, preferably twists, because those tend to help in getting the digestion moving if things are blocked up. I'm going to do a whole episode with a friend of mine with some helpful yoga for celiacs. At this point, it's important to mention that there's currently nothing that can stop the autoimmune reaction. If you've eaten gluten, you're pretty much on the highway to horrible symptoms and there's no getting off. There are a lot of products out there that make dubious claims that they can help you digest gluten, but these are bunk for a number of reasons, but the most important one is this. Your problem is not that you can't break down the gluten. It's that your body sees it as a foreign invader and will attack otherwise healthy cells. A pill that claims to break down gluten, even if it could, will not stop the autoimmune reaction that causes your symptoms. The things I suggest here are solely to help you deal with the symptoms as you're feeling them. There is no magic bullet to stop you from having symptoms. Other than not eating gluten in the first place, of course. That said, throughout the day, I drink a lot of water and I allow myself to laze around on the couch. Take it easy. Maybe I put on a favorite movie or even an ASMR video. My absolute favorite thing to do though is to make a hot pot of herbal tea, and while I'm waiting for it to cool down, I rest the mug on my stomach. It seems silly, but it helps to soothe and relax my gut. Obviously, be careful not to spill it, like maybe don't fill the mug all the way. What do I actually drink? A mix of things, but generally, if I have the energy, I like to mince up some ginger root and maybe throw in some whole chamomile flowers or hibiscus into my teapot, and I brew it for about 10 minutes. If I just can't handle doing all that mess, there are a lot of good loose herbal teas and tea bags out there that are gluten-free. Just do your research. Another thing that's important to do is to go back to basics. Eat only the things that you're sure of for the next few days. Maybe stay away from anything too acidic too. Treat it the way you treat any kind of stomach flu. Now the fun thing about celiac is that not everyone gets the same symptoms. Some of you may not experience the symptoms I've just described, and some may get others I may not have mentioned. There is even such a thing as asymptomatic celiac disease. Also, it's important to note that your outward symptoms do not always mirror what's going on internally. You may find that your symptoms become muted the longer you've been gluten-free, but what's happening inside you is still the same. The lining of your gut is still being damaged by the autoimmune reaction, regardless of how mild or non-existent your symptoms are. I'm interested to hear what all of you do when you get sick. What are your rituals? Drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. And also, remember, there is life after gluten.